Hi y'all, welcome back. I know it's been a minute, but I'm excited to be back. Today we're going to be talking about polyester clothes and making some undies out of natural fibers because I'll get into it. Um, I want to talk a little bit about why I'm doing this. So recently I've gained some weight because of roller derby. Got the roller derby butt. So I've needed to get pretty much new everything. Nothing fits me anymore. Mostly I've been thrifting, tailoring the clothes I already have or stealing stuff from my mom. And that works for a lot of clothes, but that does not work for things like underpriced stuff that was like 90% polyester. And they just felt so bad. Like, I don't know how global this experience is, but like, when you run your hand through a rack of clothes and you feel something plastic bag-esque, you go, ugh. That's about all my experience was with buying underwear. And that also means that they're not going to survive the washer, let alone the dryer. And like, I'll hand wash a swimsuit, I'll hand wash a bra, that's fine. However, hand washing all my undies is a little too much for me. And for some people, they're like, no, that's the only way you got to do it. And that's fine. I'm not that dedicated. I know it's going to end up in the dryer, so it has to be able to handle it. That were in my size, that weren't super sexy. Or, again, mostly polyester. And so I decided to give up and make my own. I think before we get super into the project, though, I do want to talk about why I hate polyester garments. And this is most of them. There is a time and a place for polyester garments. Raincoats, purse linings, costumes, anything that like you need to be cheap, water resistant, it's hypoallergenic, it's easy to clean. Like, there is a lot of reasons to have polyester garments. I mean, I have like a bunch of costume pieces and stuff, and I think my raincoat's polyester. But the things that make it a good fabric for things like raincoats make it a really bad fabric for undergarments. Or really anything that touches your skin directly. It's not great. This has even been such a big health issue that some countries have banned non-natural materials for underwear. So according to the Healthcare Communications Network, and I'll put all the sources in the links below, Russia, Belarus, and Kazakhstan implemented a ban on laced underwear in 2014 based on the fabric's lack of moisture-wicking ability. And this is for a couple reasons, and this is why I also wanted to find more natural things. Synthetic fabrics and underwear can lead to infections and rashes. This is all from the same article, by the way, due to reduced airflow and increased moisture retention. Same thing, bacterial and yeast infections. And then this is a little bit more controversial. Pesticides that may have been used on the non-organic fabrics may have endocrine disrupting properties, which might mean that that might impact your health system. So that's a lot of reasons why I don't really like to wear polyester clothes. And besides, the big thing is they're just so uncomfortable. I live in Georgia. It's hot. It's humid. I can't do plastic. The other issue is that this is from a different article, link in the description. This is from Analysis of Polyester Clothing Chain Value to identify key intervention points for sustainability. Conventional PET, which is the plastic polyester is made out of, creates pollution along its entire value chain during the production, use, end-of-life phases, and it's just unsustainable. It is taking too many resources to make it. The consumption of these garments PET polyester compromises the quality of land, water, air, destroys ecosystems, and endangers human health. This article is actually really good, and it had a lot of really easy to understand diagrams. Link will be below. Highly recommend it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about like how do we make a polyester garment. So I put a little screenshot of the diagram here, or a similar one. The oil has to get polyester is made out of petroleum. It is a petroleum ester. What does the T stand for? I don't know. I googled it and wrote it down and I can't find it. Anyways, we're gonna move on. Okay. So the oil needs to get extracted and refined just like any other petroleum product. We already know that that's not ideal for most things. Next, the oil needs to be polymerized. That's the chemical process that makes it into a plastic. This step can contain a lot of waste products, and like the chemicals used for it are really intense on the environment. And then we'll have polymer pellets after this. The pellets then need to be made into fibers. They melt it down and extrude the plastic into strands. Kind of looks like pasta making machines. However, unlike making pasta, this is from the same article, factory workers come in contact with microfibers, synthetic dyes, petrochemicals on a daily basis through inhalation or skin contact. And this increases their prevalence of respiratory disorders, allergies, lung cancer. This is, the article here directly says this is like asbestos. Because of how harmful it is on the lungs. This article, however, wasn't all doom and gloom, talking about like that these are all these really negative impacts that happen. It also talked about how between this step and the next step, some techniques could change that could reduce water usage and exposure to chemicals. So it's not all doom and gloom. They gave some pretty like, hey, if you diet in this step instead of the next step, it can be a lot more water efficient. So we've extracted the oil from the ground, we've processed it, and now there's strands, like yarn, like, oh, this is acrylic. Actually, this might even be polyester. Ooh. Don't worry about that. Oh, this one's actually, I know I have plastic yarn in here. Oh, I freaked the label off. What are you? Yeah, so this is acrylic, so like this is pretty close to what would come out of the machine. Acrylic and polyester are different, but for our sake of the argument, plastic fiber thread. It has to be treated now because it could be dyed, flame retardants, softeners, carriers, like all of these other things need to be added to the polyester fiber in order for it to become usable thread, then to become usable fabric. According to this article, an average of production of 1 kilogram of textile consumes 0.58 kilograms of chemicals. That's not good. There's a lot of issues with the discard from these chemicals being put into the water. Like this is talking about how a specific type of flame retardant is a neurotoxin. So when that gets put into the wastewater stream, it has a lot of really negative effects on the entire food chain. Also, this goes back into humans too, because if you live by a textile plant, there is a chance you are drinking the water that has been treated with these chemicals. Not ideal. So again, like what I've said before, is polyester in itself isn't evil, because like if you buy a raincoat that's polyester and you wear it for a really, really long time, cool, great. The issue is that because polyester is a cheaper fabric made with cheaper techniques, all of that work tends to be for garments that are worn once, twice, and then thrown away. So the cycle for these are really they're hard to make environmentally sustainable because the cycle is so small. What I mean, like, we put so much work into it to be used so few times. All of that wastes for a stuff that's not really worth it. But if you're reusing it, if you're recycling it effectively, because recycling polyester is really hard because most of the times things are not 100% polyester. It'll be a blend with something else, which makes it a lot harder to recycle because maybe part of it's biodegradable, but not this part. And should I take the plastic zipper off because that's a different kind of plastic? And these are problems that we need to fix on a global scale. So according to this, in 2021, the textile production of the world was 113 million metric tons, and 54% of that is polyester. And so 54% of that is really environmentally intense. And like a lot of garment making I talked a lot about how, like, you know, it still takes a lot of water to grow cotton, and like silk is a whole other story. But when you buy a cotton garment that was made maybe more ethically, it's less of an environmental impact, and you'll have that garment for a longer time. And then once that garment is done, you can recycle it a lot easier, either yourself or through, you know, like one of the close the loop fashion recycling things. There's plenty of them. But yeah, like if you have a polyester shirt and it rips, it's going to be really hard to fix it because the fabric's not going to behave like a natural fabric. You can't really cut it up to make it a towel because, like, it's plastic. It's not going to absorb any water. So what do you do with it, you know? Versus like a cotton t-shirt, great. Hi, this is a makeup rag now, and then I'll make this part into a quilt. Like, so those are some things that, like, I really didn't want to buy a polyester garment that wasn't going to last, that wasn't going to be comfortable, that I knew I was going to end up throwing away. I really wanted to find something that I would enjoy wearing, I'd wear a lot, and didn't have quite as much of an environmental impact or such a negative impact on my overall health. Once again, not all polyester is evil, but if you do buy them, try to keep them for as long as possible, try to reuse them, and then figure out how to recycle them at the end of that garment's life cycle. I mean, maybe you just chop it up and use it as filler for another project. With all of that said, let's get to the project, which is very exciting. So after all of the things that I've said, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to make my own. It just can't be that hard. So I bought some pattern steel modern ones, and I'll put the numbers down in the description. And I bought some more vintage type ones. These were mostly on sale. I think they were about $10 a piece. You can always find patterns online for way cheaper. I already wanted to go Joann's for the fabric, so I just bought the patterns. This one, I think I'm gonna cut the pattern out again on like cardstock or something because the size and cut is so nice. I really enjoyed these. These are the ones I ended up making. And then the fabric I bought were all these really fun 4-way knit patterns. I'm sorry. They're 4-way knits. They're a jersey knit though, so they're like 95% cotton with a like 4 to 5% nylon or elastane. And that's fine. Like the 4% just gives it that nice stretch, and that's not going to impact its ability to like moisture wick. The fabric honestly wasn't that expensive. Where's my little receipt? Got receipts. So the cheapest fabric that I got was this one, and it is a slightly higher content of I think that's nylon. It feels like nylon. But still, I think it's like 90% cotton and 10% nylon and elastane. This was less than $3. This was $2.73 for a yard, and I think I can make 2 to 3 pairs of undies out of it. That Harlequin one that I already showed was about $10 a yard. A little pricey, but I think for the price of 3 pairs of underwear, plus I'll have scraps to make matching scrunchies out of, isn't too bad. I also already had the elastic, so I didn't buy any more. I just used really whatever I had. I will say, though, I do wish I would have read the directions a little bit, so I would have actually bought the elastic I was supposed to buy. You know, one day I'll learn how to read. I could have also gotten cheaper fabric if I would have thrifted it, but since I was looking for something so specific, and I really wanted to know what the fabric was, I just bought it pre-done. The process was actually pretty easy, and I'll cut in with videos like what I was up to. Pretty basic of like what we do with most patterns. Cut the pattern out, cut the fabric out. This would have been a really nice project for me to use my rotary cutter, but I couldn't find it. I didn't follow a lot of the instructions that were in here because I used a different type of elastic and I found their instructions to make the gusset kind of confusing. Oh, here's a side note. I always thought for a long time that the gusset was like for something. It's not. The little gusset in underwear is just literally for more moisture wicking. Now you know. Okay. So I pinned the gusset, the front and the back together, sewed it with a zigzag stitch. If I had a serger, I would have done that, but I don't have one, so I just used the zigzag stitch on my regular machine, which worked just fine. So I used this recipe. This calls for using a pitot, I don't know, it's a French word, fancy elastic. So you can see here that it has an exposed elastic band. I did not buy pretty elastic, so I used a different method. And I'll put videos of it, and I'll put the link that I used. It helps me a lot. But so I can see that I did a closed elastic, and it's not like the best ever. You can see a little bit of it, but it's secure. So that's all that matters. And yeah, it was pretty easy. I do think I'd like to try this with the other elastic. I like the medium expensive fabric. Oh no, this was the most expensive, I think, not the Harlequin. So it's about $6 of materials for the expensive fabric again that I was talking about. It took me about 3 hours from start to finish to make it. And the next time this will be easier the next time I make them because everything's already cut out. So I mean, that puts like the cost of like, these are $20 undies if we count myself as like minimum wage. Minimum wage somewhere, probably a different country might move them up down a little bit more. Oops. But yeah, these are them, by the way. Aren't they so cute? Wow. Yeah, and I did a really simple gusset. Very simple. Like, I don't know if we're gonna have to do something with this. I might tack down, like do a Hong Kong finish on this to get it very, very flat. I don't know. We'll see. And now we'll do a try on video with my fabulous model Fetty, because I feel
curious, but this might just be like a Kia thing. I don't know. Yeah.
weird wearing undies on YouTube. I don't know. I don't think I'm making enough money for it. That's it. Thank y'all so much for joining me. It feels very fun to be back. I'm very excited. Let me know down below where you guys are getting your undies that are actually comfortable and wearable and aren't $1 billion a pair. See y'all next time.